The story begins with a badly wounded army soldier who has been shot multiple times. Doctors are trying to revive him, but he remains unconscious. From here, the story shifts to 3 days earlier in a flashback, where we see an American military base located in Afghanistan. A mission briefing is underway, and the soldiers are informed that under any circumstances, they must capture Ahmad Shah and his most trusted man. Tarak, Ahmad Shah is responsible for the deaths of more than 20 U.S. Marines and is known for killing villagers and refugees who assist the American forces. To eliminate him, a special mission is formed, and for soldiers, Michael Murphy, Marcus, and Matthew are selected for the task. Their objective is to hike across dangerous mountains to reach the village where Ahmad Shah and Tarak are believed to be hiding. They are informed that 2 support teams will be on standby, a quick reaction force, and a helicopter unit stationed nearby. The journey to the village will take around 3 hours on foot, but the terrain is hazardous. It's filled with poisonous snakes and serious communication issues, meaning they can only contact the base from specific locations. Meanwhile, in a nearby Afghan village, Ahmad Shah and his men execute a local man in front of the villagers, suspecting he has leaked information to the American army. This is a brutal tactic often used by the Taliban to maintain fear and control. As night falls, the 4 selected soldiers are dropped off near the mountain range and begin their dangerous trek on foot. While progressing cautiously, they periodically update their position via coded radio transmissions. They are referred to as Spartan. After an exhausting overnight hike, they reach a vantage point overlooking the village where Ahmad Shah is supposedly located. Using binoculars, they scan the village but find no sign of their target. They attempt to relay this back to base, and as a result, the supporting Apollo helicopter team is ordered to stand down and relax until further updates. The soldiers maintain their position, staying vigilant. Soon, when they scan the area again, they spot Ahmad Shah, Tarak, and more than a dozen armed men, far exceeding the expected number of hostiles. They try contacting their base again, but fail due to the lack of signal. Just then, they hear rustling in the bushes. A group of goats appears, accompanied by an old man, a teenage boy, and a younger child. As they approach, one of them accidentally steps on Marcus's leg, exposing their hidden location. The soldiers immediately detain the 3 individuals and discover a wireless device on the old man, confirming their suspicion that these people are Taliban informants. They try again to contact their base via satellite phone, an extremely risky move, as it could expose their location to the enemy. Still, they have no other option. The call connects, but before they can speak to the commander, who is still asleep, the line drops. The base tries to call back multiple times, but they fail to reconnect. Now the soldiers must decide what to do with the 3 captives. One of them, Matthew, proposes 3 options. Either let them go and try to trail them, tie them up, and leave them to die from the cold, or be eaten by wolves, or shoot them then and there. Matthew argues that they cannot kill them. If they do, and word gets out, it could result in serious legal consequences and the mission being compromised. Here's the asterisk. Asterisk entire passage converted into English asterisk asterisk. In one long paragraph as requested. With cinematic flow and clear storytelling tone, even if they bury the bodies, they will eventually be found. And the news will spread across the world that 4 Army SEALs killed an innocent child. Argument erupts among them. Matthew insists that if they let the captives go, they will run down the mountain and inform Ahmad Shah and his men, compromising the entire mission. Marcus tries to reason with them, saying that this isn't a child, they're all fighters. Look into their eyes, he says. They're filled with hatred for us. In fact, the hatred in their eyes is unmistakable, especially in the youngest of the boys. Before the story progresses further, a quick request to the viewers: 99% of you watch the videos but don't subscribe to the channel or like the videos? So please, support by subscribing and giving the video a like. Back to the story, Mike, their team leader, finally speaks up and says, "We're ending this mission right here. We'll let the 3 of them go and head back up the mountain. From there, we'll try to contact our base and get out of here." They release the captives, and the youngest of the 3 runs quickly toward the village. Meanwhile, the 4 soldiers begin ascending the mountain. But suddenly, Matthew slips and injures his leg. Still, they somehow manage to reach the top only to realize they've climbed the wrong mountain. Once again, they try to make contact with their base, but there's no signal. So they decide to head back down and try again from a lower point. If they still can't connect, they'll hide in the jungle overnight and attempt to return to base the next morning. But even after descending, there's still no contact. While resting, they hear suspicious sounds. Scanning the area through their gun scopes, they spot nothing at first. So Mike volunteers to go check it out. When he reaches a vantage point, he sees dozens of Ahmad Shah's men spread across the mountains. It becomes clear that the people they let go have informed. The enemy and Ahmad Shah's men are now preparing to attack. Mike rushes back and warns Marcus to get ready for a firefight. Marcus immediately understands they're surrounded by Taliban forces. "Maybe I voted the wrong way," he says in regret, but Mike doesn't blame him. Instead, he says, "We made the best decision we could, given the gravity of the moment." Just then, they spot a man with a gun hiding behind a tree. Before he can shoot, Marcus fires and takes him down. And with that, the firefight begins. They manage to take out many of Ahmad Shah's men, but sustain serious injuries themselves. Wounded and bleeding, they make a run for it, climbing up the rocky terrain and eventually leaping off a cliff. They tumble down the mountainside, landing hard, but their radio is destroyed in the process. For a while, there's an eerie silence. No gunfire. They begin to think they might be safe. But suddenly, gunshots erupt from all directions. Is hit in the leg, and Danny takes a bullet to the back. The enemy forces are overwhelming in number, and the SEALs are forced to retreat again, taking cover behind large boulders. Mike then tells the team that he must climb higher to get satellite phone signal and contact the base. Before he leaves, he hands Marcus his extra magazine and says, "Never give up." And with that, he begins his final ascent. Let me know. If you want the next part translated to or need a shorter summary, here is the asterisk, entire passage translated into English in one long paragraph, asterisk, with a smooth cinematic tone that keeps the emotional intensity and story flow intact. Dodging bullets. Mike somehow makes it to the top of the cliff and finally establishes contact with the base using the satellite phone. This time, the call goes through and he urgently requests air support. They need helicopter backup immediately. But just as he finishes the call, Ahmad Shah's men arrive and shoot Mike dead. Now only 2 soldiers remain. Meanwhile, at the base, 2 twin-engine helicopters take off to provide assistance. At the same time, 2 Black Hawk helicopters are shown on a runway, ready to fly. But they are denied clearance because they cannot fly without Apache cover, and the Apaches are currently deployed elsewhere. The commander assures them they will move out the moment the Apaches return. The twin-engine helicopters eventually reach the mountainous area where Marcus and Matthew are surrounded by enemy forces. But as the first helicopter attempts to land, an RPG is fired directly at it, striking the aircraft and causing a massive explosion. The chopper crashes off the cliff, and all soldiers on board are killed because of the intense gunfire and lack of cover. The second helicopter cannot land. A soldier on board pleads with the pilot to land anyway, but the pilot insists that without proper air cover, landing would be suicide. The helicopter turns back, leaving Marcus and Matthew behind. Watching the helicopter retreat, both men lose all hope. Soon after, Ahmad Shah's men attack again, this time targeting Matthew. He puts up a brave fight, taking down several enemies, but eventually gets shot and sacrifices his life for his country. Now only Marcus remains, severely wounded and completely alone. He hides beneath a rock as Ahmad Shah's forces comb the area, searching for him. Meanwhile, Black Hawk helicopters appear in the sky, now accompanied by Apache gunships. Their arrival causes silence to fall over the enemy forces, who stay hidden. Seeing no movement on the ground, the helicopters eventually fly away. Marcus, still bleeding and broken, remains unconscious under the rock all night. When he wakes up the next morning, his body is covered in wounds and his leg is broken. Limping forward slowly, he searches the surroundings and eventually spots water. Overjoyed and dehydrated, he rushes to drink, only to suddenly notice 3 men and a child approaching. Panicked, he threatens them, warning them to stay away or he'll shoot. No. One of the men calmly tells him to relax, though neither party understands the other's language. Just then, they hear voices. Mad Shah's men are nearby. The man gestures to Marcus to stay quiet. When Marcus notices the child with them, he realizes they are not Taliban. The man brings Marcus to his village. His name is Muhammad Gulab, a Pashtun villager. Gulab takes Marcus to his home, despite resistance from his fellow villagers who fear Taliban retaliation. Gulab doesn't listen to anyone. Though still scared, Marcus begins to trust him. Gulab asks Marcus through gestures if he is American. Marcus nods and shows him a map, asking where they are. Gulab points to their location, and Marcus writes a message requesting help from the American military. Gulab gives the message to one of his men, who heads toward the American base. Meanwhile, the Taliban track Marcus's blood trail to the village, including Tarek, one of Ahmad Shah's most trusted men. They begin searching homes and eventually arrive at Gulab's house. When Gulab tries to stop them, they slap him and forcefully drag Marcus outside. At the village square, there's a blood-stained wooden platform used by the Taliban to behead villagers they suspect of betrayal. They tell Marcus it's his turn, as one of them raises a sword to execute him. Gulab suddenly steps in front, armed with a gun. He's not alone. Other villagers stand beside him, surrounding the Taliban fighters. Gulab warns Tarek to leave or face death. Outnumbered, Tarek and his men are forced to retreat. Marcus, bewildered, cannot understand why these villagers are risking everything to protect him. He asks Gulab several times, but the language barrier prevents any clear explanation. Marcus is taken back inside. Later, he asks Gulab's son for a knife, but the boy, misunderstanding, brings a duck instead. Gulab enters and realizes what Marcus wants, gives him the knife, and Marcus begins removing shrapnel from his wounds, enduring immense pain before passing out. Gulab cleans and dresses his injuries. The next morning, Marcus wakes to find Gulab offering him food. Again, Marcus asks, "Why are you doing all this for me?" Before Gulab can answer, gunfire erupts outside the Taliban have surrounded the village and launched a full-scale attack, killing many. One fighter reaches Marcus and begins strangling him, but Gulab's son rushes in and hands Marcus a knife. He uses it to kill the attacker. Just then, American helicopters arrive and open fire on Ahmad Shah's men, killing many and forcing the rest to flee. Finally, Marcus is rescued, and Gulab's extraordinary courage ensures that at least one man survives to tell the story. Let me know if you'd like this turned into a script, a summary, or even a YouTube narration. Here's the asterisk full. Passage translated into English in one long, cinematic-style paragraph, asterisk. Preserving the emotional depth and clarity of the original content, the soldiers approach and inform that one of their men is inside. As they enter, they find Marcus, lying there, gravely wounded. They begin to carry him out for evacuation. Marcus, barely conscious, pleads with them, saying, "Take Muhammad Gulab and his family with us." But the army personnel explain that they cannot do that. They assure Marcus that Gulab and his family will be safe in the village and that protection will be provided for them. Just then, Gulab's young son walks up to Marcus. Marcus embraces him tightly and kisses him gently on the forehead, final gesture of gratitude and affection. He is then taken to the base camp, where he hovers between life and death. He slips into unconsciousness, and this moment takes us back to the beginning of the film, where the story had started. Medical personnel are seen administering electric shocks to revive him. And miraculously, his heartbeat returns, Marcus survives. But the most powerful question this film leaves us with is, why did Muhammad Gulab and his village risk everything to save Marcus? The answer lies in an ancient Afghan tradition, over 2,000 years old. According to this sacred Pashtunwali code, if any person, regardless of who they are, is alone and in need of help, surrounded by enemies or danger, it becomes the moral duty of the Pashtun people to offer protection and assistance, even at the cost of their own lives. That's why Gulab chose to save Marcus. However, this act of humanity and courage brought great hardship to Gulab. For the next 4 years, he lived in hiding, constantly under threat. The Taliban launched multiple attacks on him, including bombings at his home. In one such attack, his cousin was killed. In 2010, Marcus invited Gulab to the United States as an honored guest. Unfortunately, Gulab couldn't permanently relocate to America because he didn't have the proper immigration permission. Despite Marcus's continued efforts to help him settle, eventually those efforts fell short and Gulab remained in Afghanistan. And thus, this unforgettable true story and the powerful film based on it comes to an end. Which movie would you like to hear about next? Let me know in the comments below. I read them all. Thank you so much for your love and support. Let me know if you'd like this whole explanation formatted as a voiceover script, YouTube video narration, or rewritten for subtitles.